Oh, look. There he goes.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
Is that a...
It's a
yeah,
guillotine.
It's a guillotine. Yeah. Didn't know they were French.
Do you honestly think you're
Could you be any louder? You really trying to trap yourself, dude?
I had never noticed it before. I was wondering if it would go off if you stepped on it.
Slide. Remakes are weird. Sometimes, okay, most of the time. Most of the time, they are subpar in almost every single way. They're a quick cash grab that studios just like, we're about to lose the rights to this. We need to do one more thing, one more little cash grab to try and make as much money off this IP before we lose all permission to it. Like that happens every now and again.
At least with movies, yeah.
Yes.
Video game remakes are better sometimes.
I would agree. I would say most of the time, gaming remakes are, in some ways, superior to the originals. For instance, the one that really jumps to mind is Shadow of the Colossus. The Shadow of the Colossus remake that came out on PS4 is nothing short of spectacular. And in my mind is the ideal way to play the game. Taking nothing away from the original that was on PS2. I own a copy of the original on PS2, but it just goes without saying the controls are much better on the PS4 version than the PS2 version. And yeah, I would also say that it depends on who you get to remake the games that really makes or breaks like the quality of the remake. In terms of films, a remake should be something that not only pays tribute to the original, but in some ways like tries to break out of the shell of the original. For instance, the Manchurian Candidate. I remember hearing about the Manchurian Candidate remake back in like 2004, and it had like all these big name actors in it. You know, Denzel Washington, Meryl Streep, Liev Schreiber. You know, just great actors all around. And when you compare it to the original from 1962, oh my lord, is it a massively inferior film. I mean, the script is not that good. The changes that they make from the original are just so, head-scratchingly stupid. And then, of course, you have remakes like 310 to Yuma and True Grit, which are superior in every way.
That's the thing about movies a lot of times, too, is a lot of times I actually don't realize something's a remake of something else.
Yeah. Well, for instance, probably the one that almost nobody thinks about, The Thing. Because The Thing...
I know about that one, because that's one of my favorite movies.
Well, yeah,
so
yeah.
I know all the history of it.
But most people would never guess that was a remake. Most people in their right mind would never guess that was a remake from, like, a 1950s, alien sci-fi B-flick back then.
Well, because they also changed the title as well for it.
Well, it was The Thing from
Outer Space.
Yeah, to just The Thing.
To just The Thing.
Which I like the fact that it's The Thing because The Thing has much more of a bite to it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes remakes, I think, equal their originals. But it's not the case with this one. I think that this remake is not as good as the original, but I definitely believe that it's more than worthy of existing. Because there are things that they do in this that are amazing.
It's one of the definite, not bad, remakes.
Yeah. If the original Evil Dead is a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10... I would give this a 7.5, maybe an 8. It's still good.
They basically, they at least tried to maintain, to an extent, some of the spirit of the original,
Yeah.
while retelling the story and not making it seem absurd that they were trying to maintain that spirit of the original.
Yeah.
Like, they tried to, like, it felt like they tried to modernize the original concepts and didn't entirely fail at doing so. So it worked.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
And it's one of those things, it's like, we didn't really need it, but it's fine that they did it.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad that they did it. And also, the fact that Fede Alvarez got his chance at making a film like this. And Fede Alvarez is one of my favorite new horror/suspense directors. And I love watching his work.
It's like the only other remake I can think of that I really, really love, possibly even a little bit more than the original, as crazy as that is to say, is also a horror movie, and that's Dawn of the Dead. So.
I will say, in my mind, it's equal. I would say there are things that the original does better in terms of certain character developments, but just the overall feel and the overall like suspense that you get, like it's almost suffocating in the remake. The suspense that you get because of how fast those fuckers are, and not only that, but just
not to mention it was the first time that someone used full speed running zombies that made me be okay with it. Because I was a big fan of Resident Evil original games, you know, and just the zombies that shuffled after you. I thought they were
shamblers.
spookier and scarier, you know.
Well, yeah.
And then whenever they had the running ones and Dawn of the Dead, like, I was just like, all right, they made them terrifying.
I would say, also, I know there's some people down in the comment section who would say, what about 28 days later? It's like, technically they're infected. They're not dead. They're not zombies. They're infected
like
and they're
with,
ravenous.
Like, yeah, more like people with like a brutal form of rabies that works on people the same way it does animals.
Yes, and it is, and I would say 28 Days Later, in my opinion, is one of my favorite like films like that. But in terms of what we're talking about, in terms of like a zombie film, you know, Dawn of the Dead is a pure zombie film because
one of the things about Dawn of the Dead is like they still kept intact. Like, yeah, their only weakness really is destroying the brain.
Yeah,
that's a lot harder to do when something's sprinting at you than it is when it's just shuffling a lot down a hallway at you.
Yeah,
like because even with like, I mean, anything that's not an automatic weapon, like, and even with an automatic weapon, you're still probably gonna miss the head a lot.
Well, that's why I would. That's why I
like
think
landing a handgun shot on something that's straight up sprinting at you is not gonna be easy.
No, I would say the biggest one for me that I would probably take Ving Rhames' build. I would have the shotgun with double-aught buck in it because it's a spray that's like that big around and it's a lot easier to hit. Like, you only have to, one pellet only has to go in and do the damage. So I think Ving Rhames' character had the best overall build on taking out zombies. I mean, Ving Rhames is just a badass.
Always been the zombie tool, whether they be slow or fast.
And speaking of shotguns,
even in Half-Life,
yeah, true, yeah. Halo, same thing with the Flood.
What's his face? The amazing character, the best character in the game. In Half-Life 2. Shit. The tennis shoe wearing priest.
Right.
Yeah, he's Father Gregory. Yeah, that's it.
Gregory.
Father Gregory is like, take this, brother. It will help. Like, and throws you a shotgun,
Hell yeah,
to
Father.
shoot the running head crab zombies with.
It's like, hell yeah. I mean, God bless, Father. It's like, but speaking of shotguns,
he would just be like,
ha
ha ha, after hearing that, like, because that's how he is.
Yeah. But one of the coolest priests in fiction ever. Also, another one was the one from, he was very limited in his usage, but the one from Dead Alive or Brain Dead. It's like, I kick ass for the Lord.
Yeah.
I love that one. But anyway, enough of us rambling. We have here the Evil Dead 2013 remake, Kill Count by Dead Meat. Let's check it out and let's see what's up.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today
Hi,
we're looking
James.
at the kind of reboot of Evil Dead, released in 2013. I say kind of because director Fede Alvarez, who would go on to make Don't Breathe, has said that this movie takes place 30 years after the original, even though we're seeing a lot of the same things play out all over again. His explanation is that the Necronomicon can somehow influence events and make them reoccur, sort of like history repeating itself, if you will. So yeah, this could be a remake, a sequel, whatever you want, really.
Which, considering considering the events of Evil Dead 1 and 2, I mean, think about it. If Evil Dead 1 really did happen, why the hell would Ash bring his girlfriend out into the middle of this forest to the same fucking cabin where he got possessed and had to kill all of his friends?
It actually lends some explanation to the way 1 and 2 work, because 2 is essentially a reboot of 1.
Yeah. I heard that.
They don't, timeline-wise make any sense.
They don't. But yet they exist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the weird thing about the Evil Dead franchise. It's just like Sam Raimi, dude. Fucking Sam Raimi. I love
It's
Sam
like
Raimi.
going from the end of 2 into Army of Darkness makes more sense.
Yes.
But-
Well, that's a direct sequel.
Yeah, but like 1 to 2, they kind of are like, it's almost like a restart.
Yeah. It's almost like, that was fun, but let's try it again.
This time, instead of having as many people, we're going to put the one guy in the situation on his own.
Yeah. Man.
We already know these movies aren't sticklers for continuity. As you probably know
No,
by
they're
now,
not.
I have a high standard when it comes to remakes. I'm gonna be a little harder on a movie if it's recreating something that's already been created. Sorry, not sorry. Luckily, this movie very clearly has a purpose for existing. It takes all the over-the-top gore of the original Evil Dead and plays it completely straight. Like, yeah, that first movie wasn't comedic like the sequels, but it was still pretty campy. This remake, though, it's out to scare the piss out of you. Also, bonus points for not trying to have another Ash Williams. Ain't no one can fill out that chin like Bruce Campbell. How many kills will it take for this requel to terrify us?
Shiloh Fernandez is a good actor. I've seen him in other stuff, and the guy can act, and he's a pretty good actor. But, yeah, we don't need another Ash Williams. Instead, Jane Levy and her performance in this is just... I love her character.
Let's find
in
out
this.
and get to them. The movie begins in everyone's favorite haunted woods, where a teenage girl staggers around dripping blood from her hands. But Mom always said not to go bleeding in a forest, lest you want a bag over your head and a shotgun butt to the face. That girl should listen to Mama. She wakes up bound to a wooden pillar in a room with way too many dead cats for my liking. Poor
Yeah,
kid.
that's kind of
An
fucked.
older woman reads aloud from the all-new Necronomicon until a bespectacled fellow steps up and removes the bag from the teenager's head.
Daddy?
Aw, we got ourselves a family reunion in the woods. That's nice. Except Papa tells his
It
daughter
ain't.
that she killed her mom. That's not nice. And the spectators in the cabin encourage him to save her soul through the only method they know. So he apologizes to his daughter while dousing her in fuel. And as he gets ready to light a match, his extreme
Burn her at
measures
the
are
stake.
validated.
You're so loud, you pathetic fuck!
The dead-eyed teenager keeps swearing at her pops as she burns there against the pillar, melting down to an Anakin Skywalker condition until her dad finally finishes off the kill and this cold open with a shotgun blast that blows apart her head.
Headshot.
Yeah, that is one epic fucking title card. A bunch
Yes.
of beautiful aerial shots show a Jeep driving through a lot of forest and crossing a babbling brook to arrive at its remote location, an old wooden cabin with a work shed that, are we sick of yet after all these movies? Hell no!
Hell
we ain't sick of
no.
this shit. Bring on the Book and the Deadites, man! Driving the Jeep is, sadly, the movie's most boring couple of characters, David Allen and his girlfriend Natalie. They meet with much more interesting peeps, Olivia the nursing student, played by Gotham's
Jessica
Lucas,
Lucas.
and Eric the
Jessica Lucas, who I had the biggest crush on.
high school teacher who was once close with David but has since grown distant and bitter. They've all gathered here to help David's sister Mia, currently hanging out on the hood of the abandoned overgrown classic, and played by Jane Levy of the criminally underrated Suburgatory. She's rocking an MSU sweatshirt and a mean addiction to heroin, which is why everyone has come to this cabin, to witness her ditch the habit down a well and help her get cleaned up cold turkey. And here, Mia, maybe this magnifying glass necklace will help you out. It's done a lot for other characters in the past. The cabin belongs to David and Mia's family, although But when they get to the door, it appears as though someone has broken in and left it quite a mess. Probably that damn Sam Raimi. That boy will do all sorts of nonsense to get his movies made. Close. Mia and David now have a tense relationship, since he wasn't around to help her when their mom died in the hospital. He also wasn't around for the last time Mia tried to clean herself up, as Olivia and Erik tell him out on the porch. On that occasion, she bailed and started using again. But this time, they don't want to let that happen.
David, when she breaks, and believe me, she will, we don't want to let her leave.
Mia breaks pretty much immediately, because on the very first night, she's a screaming, sweaty mess who can't stand an awful smell coming from somewhere inside the cabin.
Yeah, the portrayal of addiction in this is a really, really good, like, misdirect for the characters who.
Okay, so here's my thing about this.
Go ahead.
I know people who have personally struggled with this kind of addiction.
Same.
And have gone through processes of coming off of this kind of addiction. So I like the idea of them using this because it kind of gives an excuse to the stupid behavior of the characters.
Yes.
To an extent, because all their friends think that, you know, she's going to be having these problems.
She's going to say anything that
they're expecting some weirdness.
Yeah.
And they have already decided we're not leaving until she's better, you know? And then so when stuff gets actually weird, it lends some credence to, like, their bad decisions to not leave right away, you know?
Well,
but what I don't like about it is the fact that you don't bring someone to a cabin in the middle of nowhere to come off of opiates. Because that shit can actually hospitalize you. You need to be in civilization.
Well,
some people coming off opiates can die from the withdrawals.
And that's why, you know, there's sort of an excuse for that because Jessica Lucas in this film is a registered nurse and she's dealt with addicts coming off of stuff.
Still, like, usually they, like, you would be in, like, a rehab center with, like, the ability to get IVs and fluids and stuff because you're going to be basically crapping your guts out the whole time.
Yes.
Like, and, you know,
well, your body's like going to be rejecting everything because it
like, from what my buddy said, like, you kind of have the option to just be given, like, sedatives and, like, sleep through a lot of it as well.
Yeah.
And he said it's, like, it's literally hell, like, coming off of that stuff.
Well, it is because your body has to readjust. It's dangerous
to an extent, so I just think, in my opinion, like, even if you have a friend who's a nurse and you're trying to, like, get clean for sure, but go to a rehab center because they have the facilities and stuff to make the hell more manageable. Like, a cabin in the middle of the woods does not.
Well, yeah, and I get that and I see that, but I would say for the sake of the film, you know, her acting erratic and say, because they're going to be expecting her to say anything just so that she can get out of there and just get away. And I like the fact that they're using it. Now, what you're saying, I get as well, but I think I can forgive it in terms of movie logic because, you know, I don't think anyone's going to watch this and be like, you know what, that's a good idea for getting off of heroin right there. And going and watching this film. I don't think anyone's going to do that. I mean, this is not a good idea, but yeah. Anyway,
But there is something dead, and it reeks.
Her dog Grandpa finds where it may be coming from, a bloody hatch in the floor underneath a rug. The boys head down there, and of course there's a back room to explore. But sadly, no Freddy Krueger claws hanging on the wall this time. The back room ends up being that place from the cold open, full of poor dead kitties hanging in there, and the funeral pyre of that teenage deadite. The centerpiece of it all, of course, is a scary book wrapped in a garbage bag and barbed wire. Naturally, they bring it upstairs.
If I saw that, I would not touch it. I would leave it where it is.
I'm a stupid person. I would totally be checking out what the fuck that could be.
No. And at that point, I would look at you and just be like, Nick, I love you, bro, but I'm leaving. Bye.
All right. I'll tell you what it is later.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden...
Or you won't hear from me again.
I never hear from you again because you're a fucking deadite.
You'll be able to extrapolate from there.
Yeah. Like say, all of a sudden I come back to the cabin like a few months later, you're missing, and it's just like I need to trace where what your last steps were. I come here and you're out in the forest just like a friggin' wild deadite, and then you're just like, hey, buddy, missed you. Just like snap my freaking neck. That's what I imagine.
And lay it to rest on their shotgun table. Erik is the most intrigued by the new lid, even though he recognizes the witchy setting in which it was found. Still, he just can't help himself from freeing it of its restraint. And once he does, we've got ourselves a stitched up, fleshy Book of the Dead. No face in it this time through, but you know, never judge a Book of the Dead by its cover. Besides, it's what's on the inside that counts. And on the inside is
Wrapped
a
in
message
human
that Erik
skin.
promptly ignores, as well as some neat illustrations and some hidden words that Erik is able
You
to
gotta think a
uncover through
skeptic
science.
wouldn't believe
Although
any of the
another
shit
word-
that they see in that. A skeptic, most skeptics wouldn't. I guarantee if Jacob saw this shit, he would probably just be like, man, this ain't shit. There's nothing that's gonna happen by me reading this. And like, Klaatu Verada Nikto. What's gonna happen? And all of a sudden an earthquake happens. He's just like, well, that was a strange coincidence.
Warning in the book says not to say these words. He fucking does, of course. And that gives us a first-person evil spirit in the woods that finds Mia and flashes
Also, like the
some
fact
evil
that they kept the
The first person, like,
the entity cam.
at her that she winds up puking on the ground. And her little bout of cabin sickness is the least of her problems, too. Yeah, that's gonna send you packing whether you've got withdrawals or not. But Olivia's not willing to grant Mia bail since the last time she ran out on recovery, she wound up ODing so bad that she legally died for a little bit. When David sides with Olivia and Erik, Mia rips up the magnifying glass necklace strap and takes the keys to leave on her own. Oh, and hey, Natalie's in the back on the porch there. I almost forgot she was even at the cabin.
yeah, useless characters like that are not.
It's basically just there because they had an idea of how to have somebody die in the movie and needed somebody to go down.
Yeah, why does this character exist? Body count. Like, that's it, literally.
Mia's hatchback flight through the rain is stopped by an unmarked demon X-thing that sends her flying off the road and crashing into a watery ditch. When she comes to, she finds the car totally wrecked and a swamp demon totally scary. She takes off, pursued by a first-person evil spirit, until she winds up with tree branches and vines wrapped around her limbs. It's another familiar sight, and just a heads
And
up, we're
here
gonna
we
get more
go.
Evil Dead 1 here than Evil Dead 2. Apparently, the scene wasn't in the initial screenplay that Alvarez co-wrote with Rodo Sayagues, but then an unnamed producer, probably Robert Tapper, told them that they needed to include the iconic scene in their remake. Things are a little different this time through, because while the vines and tree branches hold Mia in place, a Samara-esque demon girl appears in front of her and has a bit of her own cabin fever, puking up a real nasty, I don't know, evil tentacle, I guess, that slithers over to Mia and up her legs. Mia and the entity share a scream. David and Olivia find Mia and take her back to the cabin, where they dismiss her story as hallucinations from
Also
Winterfell,
inspired
and
a Bitch in the Black Dahlia murder song. Rest in peace, Trevor.
attempt to manipulate them into letting her go.
From now on,
I can't
she's
say
gonna
the title of it on here or we'll get demonetized, but it's a great song.
do whatever it takes to get out of here.
I do like that this movie offers a strong justification as to why they don't want to leave the cabin and why they don't believe the first victim. It's
Yeah.
simple but effective, and it's why David refuses to take Mia back home even after she begs him with the most scared face I've ever seen on a human being. It's okay, Mia. I don't think there's actually anything in this cabin that'll... Oh dear God! Erik takes to further studying the Necronomicon, probably because he's a high school teacher and just wants to read something other than Catcher in the Rye for once. Meanwhile, David finds Grandpa Dog dead and bloody beneath the work shed,
man,
and
yeah.
seeing a
Poor
gory hammer
pupper.
nearby, assumes that his junkie sister is the canine-killing culprit. He charges into the cabin, where Mia's taking a shower, but instead of getting grilled by her brother about a dead dog, she boils herself by turning up the heat and scalding a whole bunch of her skin off. Does your
yeah.
new favorite book say anything about that, Erik? Oh, yep, here it is, Chapter 6, The Old Viserys Maneuver. David finally tries to drive his scalded, puking sister back to civilization, but he has to stop the Jeep when he finds the road out of there flooded. I mean, the sign warned you, dude. It's right there. Everyone is getting rightfully worried,
Babbling brook became a raging river.
even though David tries to assuage their concerns.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. I don't know if you'd noticed this, but nothing has been fine.
Yeah, Eric's not a believer, and looks
And whose fault is that, homie? I wonder. Wouldn't happen to be the, bespeckled asshole who happened to open the frickin' Book of the Dead and start reading it.
like the evidence is on his side.
And I'm not talking about Nick, even though he would be that bespeckled asshole who would read the book.
Probably. I like to think I'm intelligent in certain places, but there are places I'll admit that I am less than smart, and that's one of them.
Just like,
So I'd be like,
I
this
just
is...
can't help myself.
I'd just be like, this is too metal, like, man, like, I gotta see, you know, what this is about.
Yeah, you just like, I can see you reading it now, like, this looks interesting. And then just like, you hold it like that long ways, and it unfolds like a freaking centerfold from a Playboy, and you're just like, now that's fucking metal.
Since Mia walks into the room, twitching all kinds of crazy and holding a goddamn shotgun. She shoots it right past David's head, which I guess serves as an invitation for an evil spirit to break down the door and come into the cabin. We're treated to a cameo sound clip of Cheryl from the original Evil Dead, with Mia adding her own personalized punctuation.
You are all going to die tonight.
She passes out, and when Olivia tries to secure the gun, Mia stops her, pounces on her, and pukes a whole bucket's worth of blood right into her face. Aw, sick nasty. Olivia rolls Mia over into the open cellar hatch, and Erik thinks fast, closing it and climbing on top to keep Mia shut in tight. Hey, what if we gave Natalie a line?
Oh my god, what happened to her eyes?
Oh, I meant like an original one, but that's okay, I guess. Erik tells David that he thinks Mia's all messed up because of all the witchcraft stuff from the basement, and unfortunately for them, that witchcraft stuff is contagious because Olivia sees a ghastly grinning version of herself in the bathroom mirror. She realizes the image might be reflecting something foretold in the evil book, and next thing you know, she's frozen in place and bugging out a bit. Erik goes to check on her and finds the bathroom light only half working, but his ears are fully functional, and the sound they picking up is pretty gross.
Olivia.
Oh, yeah. Sawing with the shattered piece of mirror. Oh. Also, they didn't show the part, like, when Jessica Lucas just, like, stopped there dead cold. She pissed herself as well. That was another thing.
Turns out that's what it sounds like when someone saws their own face off. Holy shit, Olivia. When'd you start doing bath salts? Olivia is now possessed enough to cut off her own cheek, and according to our rules with this series, that means another one for the count. Dead-eyed Olivia attacks the prone Erik and really messes him up good, stabbing him in the chest and beating at his face with a syringe. Good thing you opted for the extra strength glasses there, dude. When Olivia crawls towards him, ready to stab him some more, Erik grabs a broken piece of porcelain and smashes her head over and over until she's no longer moving. It may not be a proper dismemberment or anything, but this does kill the dead-eyed Olivia. Again, different movie, different rules, I guess. David tends to Eric's wounds in the work shed with, wait, what's her name again? Natalie? It doesn't matter. Go on and get. As David patches him up, Erik confesses that he probably brought this all about by reading from the book.
I released something evil.
Yeah, you fucking think, dude? Inside the cabin, Natalie hears Mia crying and sounding normal in a classic Deadeye ruse that successfully draws the bland nothing character down the stairs to help her. That's when Mia breaks bad, and although Natalie tries to escape, she's pulled back underground and slammed shut inside. Mia creeps up on Natalie, who tries to grab a box cutter to defend herself with. And that gives us this movie's most memorable moment, when Mia treats that blade like a push pop and licks the edge of it, splitting her tongue in half. The fork-tongued Mia then shares a bloody French kiss with Natalie, and even though David comes and rescues his girlfriend from the cellar, we know it's probably too late for her. They chain and nail.
Also, you know how you fix the Natalie character? Make her the longtime girlfriend of David. Make her the longtime girlfriend of David and has known Mia a long time as well. And they could actually like have a connection where they were both like cheerleaders together or something like that, or they were both on like the volleyball team together, or played something like that. And you could have that as a reason for Natalie being there. That would be more than a good reason. Also, you could basically... Actually, you know what? Even better. Make her David's ex-girlfriend, and she's showing up there, and her and David basically have to, like, be around each other because, you know, they're both important to me. They're both important to her.
Nail the cellar door shut and have a good cry sesh on the floor together, while Erik tries to end this misadventure by burning the Book of the Dead. It doesn't work.
Yeah,
because,
bad news, brother.
Obviously, a book from hell is gonna be pretty flame retardant. That durable Naturum Demonto.
You know what I'd want to do? I'd want to test how durable the Book of the Dead really is. You know what I'd do? Anti-material rounds straight through the front.
I'm sure they have those available at their cabin in the woods.
Well, if I'm Ash and I'm just like, wait, have we ever tried to really like shoot the Necronomicon with like with like an armor-piercing 50 cal. Let's try that. And just... That's what I'd try anyway.
Info inside, but all of it does point to one especially evil being.
Evil entity, taker of souls.
And the world's best birthday party planner. He's got a cake and a candle on his head all ready to go. This entity needs to claim 5 human souls before it can successfully rise from hell. So I guess it's convenient that 5 idiot teens just happen to roll into its neighborhood. In the kitchen, Natalie examines a bite wound Mia left on her hand, which festers and spreads corruption all the way up her arm. And to make things worse, Natalie's got an audience for this arm-enveloping affair.
Got it.
Motherfuck, man. When did Tessa Altman get so scary? Convinced that Amanda's a lost cause, Natalie grabs an electric carver from the ground and, to her credit, does what needs to be done. She saws right on in until the phone breaks and the lights go out. Hot damn, this movie don't fuck around. Are you happy with yourself, Mia? Oh, yeah.
Oh, she is
David ducks
ecstatic.
Natalie's stump, and then it's back to the book, which Erik says makes one thing clear.
In order to stop this, the possessed must be cleansed.
And apparently, there are 3 ways to cleanse the evilly afflicted. Alive burial, complete bodily dismemberment, and that old witch standard, clean and simple immolation. David's understandably reluctant to go with any of these options when it comes to his sister Dearest, so Erik resolves to take care of it himself. Not if Deadite Natalie has anything to say about it.
There we go.
The amputation didn't work, and Natalie instead decided to cosplay as John Ritter from Bride of Chucky by shooting herself in the face with a nail gun. In fact, she found the experience so enjoyable, she thinks the guy should try it too. Natalie, it's cool if you're into body modification, but don't force it on other people. She ends up
Agreed.
shooting Erik in the arm a bunch and David in the leg, and it's not until Erik is a downright human pincushion that David is able to tackle his possessed girlfriend and put an end to the attack. Natalie simply rearms herself, not with like another arm, she can't do that, but with a crowbar that she then beats David down with. And when she's bored of hitting him, she turns her attention to Erik, who she beats with the crowbar until his skull is busted open. Before she can take one final fatal swing though, her arm gets shot straight off her body by David, who's got the boomstick now. Natalie reverts back to her milquetoast human form and confusedly asks David why he's hurting her. I know this is usually a demonic ploy, but in this case, Natalie stays a human and bleeds out to death, never to come back as a deadite again. I know we already counted her possession as a kill, but I don't know, man. Let's just count her death here as another one.
I think the rules with this is the direct possession by the entity itself, and the entity itself is only afflicting Mia, whereas the rest of them are just being turned into deadites as like minions of this entity. And I think the dismemberment or the immolation and shit like that isn't necessary for deadites, but it is necessary for the possessed. I think that's the rules. I think. I don't know.
These movies are messy. I said that in the first kill count. David takes Erik outside and promises him that he'll do what needs to be done. So he heads back inside and pours gasoline all over the place like he's looking to collect some insurance money. But before he can drop the lighter, Mia starts singing a lullaby to him, and a picture on the wall reminds him of more innocent times. So he comes up with another, less sister-burny plan. The new plan involves a chainsaw. Wait, no, a battery? And some syringes, I guess. He heads down to the cellar, syringe in hand, only to have Mia fly out at him from a corner and cut his arm up with that box cutter. She throws him into a nasty pool of water and starts to drown him, but she's stopped by Erik, who knocks her down with a shovel, which allows David to stick her with the needle. Unfortunately, that fight took the last bit of life out of Erik, who dies in a seated position, which has got to be uncomfortable. I didn't mean to put his body down in the water, David, because that's downright disrespectful, dude. It's gonna get moldy. David takes her out to a grave he dug and buries her next to a burning tree that was struck by lightning. She's not ready to be put down for a nap, though, and wakes up acting like a regular human being, begging David for help. He doesn't fall for that old trick and instead keeps on a shoveling, not stopping to cry about it until the dirt is level and he can't hear the deadite no mo. Fun fact, they actually buried Jane Levy underground for this scene so actor Shiloh Fernandez could be more emotional and urgent during it. When the burning tree goes out, David takes it as a sign that the medicine has run its course, so he digs his sister back up quickly since, again, she was actually buried down there, and uses the battery device he rigged up in the shed to stab her in the chest and try to zap her back to life. It doesn't appear to work at first, and David laments the loss of his loved one one, but y'all know how movies work by now. Of course she's gonna come back. Besides, I never put her on the count. That should have been a Deadite giveaway. Mia comes back from the Deadite and is legitimately free of her possession. So is this a happy ending to our story? Not exactly. They've still got to get out of this place, and Deadite Erik's not about to let that happen. After a rough stab with suppliers, David is in real bad condition, and although Mia wants to help him, he ushers her out of the cabin and tells her to go before slamming the door shut and locking her out. As Deadite Erik approaches, David gets the shotgun and aims it at the gasoline tank. His shot causes an explosion that engulfs the cabin in flames, and Mia watches from outside as her living brother and the Deadite Erik burn to death inside the cabin. Her consolation prize is an Evil Dead mainstay, but it's still kind of disappointing. I came back from being a Deadite and all I got was this stupid magnifying glass necklace? Well, if you want more theatrics, how about a biblical rainstorm of blood? Because I guess that even though Mia was able to come back from it, the evil entity did claim 5 human souls, you know? If you want to be technically correct about it, which is the best kind of correct. With the Saw fundraising goal reached, the Abomination rises from the earth and chases a blood-soaked Mia into a burrow below the workshed. Pretty shitty hiding place, Mia. I bet it's the first place it'll look. Told you so. Mia crawls into the workshed and finally brings the chainsaw properly into this movie. As she tries to get it started from behind a wall, she faces a bunch of scary machete stabs.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, I didn't remember how this movie went, but I remembered her actually using the chainsaw, and I was like, trying to remember, I was like, how did she end up using the, was I wrong? Like, how did she end up using the chainsaw if she was possessed? Like, she was basement Deadite, like... It's because it went really like different with how it worked on the possession.
Well, the possession was basically done away with whenever he buried her alive.
And Evil Dead, I think it was Evil Dead 2, where he buried her, and that didn't help.
Well, no, it's because it has to be a full body burial, and he didn't bury her head. Her head was in the vice, remember? And then and then her body came back from under.
I thought he threw the head in with her because, like, whenever she comes out, she does like the stop motion dance where she like rolls her head along her arms.
I can't remember. I'm gonna have to rewatch the older Evil Dead films.
I was just kind of thinking that just doesn't work in the original. There's not really set ways of stopping them other than.
Dismemberment
and
which
destruction,
worked for the one team.
Yeah, and the shotgun and such, like,
Yeah.
It's like basically like destroying the body to the point where there's nothing left to be possessed.
Agreed, yeah.
Again, Mia gets away by breaking out through the wall of the workshed and hides behind the Jeep as the Abomination comes out to get her. Beneath the vehicle, she finally gets the chainsaw going, and she uses it to cut the Abomination's leg off and get it to the ground. In response, the Abomination straight flips the Jeep onto Mia's hand, crushing it and pinning her to the ground.
Yep.
Mia's had enough of this shit, and, unable to reach the chainsaw from her position, simply musters up the will and the fortitude to pull her arm out from underneath the car, leaving her hand behind as collateral. The Abomination crawls over to Mia, not realizing that our final girl has grown into an ash-like kick-ass quipper.
I will feast on your soul.
Feast on this motherfucker.
With that,
Yeah!
And I'm sorry, y'all, but this public version on YouTube can't even begin to show the brutality of this kill. So I'll just give you some discreet close-ups. The Abomination's zipper-looking corpse sinks into the bloody, muddy earth, and with the evil being vanquished, the sky clears up, and Mia's finally able to wear that magnifying glass necklace in peace. The sun is rising, and humanity is saved. So you can go ahead and close.
Also, is it just me, or in that scene right there at the end, go back just a little bit, like to where she has the magnifying glass on?
The sun is
Does she not give like huge River Tam vibes right there?
Yes.
It's like,
yeah, very much River Tam.
Yep.
I would say that.
In peace. The sun is rising and humanity is saved. So you can go ahead and close that Book of the Dead. Oh, and after one last severe title card, the movie ends with a post-credit cameo from Mr. Bubba Hotep himself.
Groovy.
Yep.
What's up, Ash?
Good lord, is it even...
I really wish that something would have come of that, but instead, well, something did. We got Ash versus the Evil Dead, but we only got 3 seasons when we should have got 5. Thanks very much, Stars. You see, that was the whole problem. Because it was on Stars and not on a network like HBO or Showtime or, one of the big ones, it couldn't find an audience. And that's the shitty part, because Ash vs. the Evil Dead is so good. Such a good series. I recommend anyone.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna finish watching it because I heard it got canceled suddenly, but after hearing Micah the other day saying like, well, it left off on a pretty good spot though.
It did.
Like that kind of makes me feel like I might actually go back and watch the rest.
Oh, it's
of it
more than worthy of watching. It's just
there should have been more.
There should have been 2 more seasons at least, because that's what Sam Raimi said he wanted. He wanted 5 seasons. He only got 3. Hate to say it, but
maybe we'll get lucky and it'll be one of those shows that has enough demand that it'll get a revival one day.
not likely, because Bruce Campbell said that he's done playing Ash.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
If that's his wish, who am I to tell him otherwise?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Does it matter how many kills there were when we had gore that crazy intense? Of course it does. We all about them analytics, baby. Let's get to the numbers. Right after I look at ants and stuff. Oh, what interesting fine print. And what is that, an atom? I counted 9 possessions / deaths / whatever in this movie. The victims included 2 women who got possessed, 2 dudes who died human, 3 lady deadites slain, 1 dude deadite blown up, oh, and the Abomination, which is a genderless evil being. Is this the first time we've ever had a 5-part pie chart? No. With a runtime of 91 minutes, that left us with a victim on average every 10.11 minutes. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to the Abomination. Fucking
no doubt.
Sawed in half vertically with a chainsaw? What the fuck else is supposed to win this?
Yep.
Nothing. That's what a dull machete for
That's
ladies
why it's
kill.
called the golden chainsaw. Like, chainsaw equals cool kills if done correctly.
Yes.
To Erik, who got all tuckered out after his fight with the possessed Mia. Though, to be fair, he had survived like half a dozen fights before that. And that's it. Evil Dead, the kind of sort of remake, came out in 2013, and so far it might be the best remake I've watched. And don't try to bring up the thing, Carpenter's movie isn't a remake, it's a different adaptation of a common source material. With the Evil Dead franchise finished,
fair
it's
enough.
time for some holiday cheer. So we're starting Silent Night, Deadly Night next week.
But I can bring up Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead's a worthy remake as well.
Yeah. Although James has a very strong, like, anti-zombie movie thing because of the amount of dead bodies in it that him and Zoran and the editors have to count.
Well, he doesn't have to count it. He just has to watch it sometimes. If he hasn't, I'm sure he has.
I think he has done the Dawn of the Dead remake on this, but on the kill count, we can check after.
Hey, Janice. This has been the Kill Count. Thanks a lot for watching this week's Kill Count. I want to thank patron Flynn Lambert and other patrons who have been with me for over a year. Brian Crocker, Riley Atfield, Kieran Nichols, Charles Mueller, and Dried Lemon. The Evil Dead franchise is over, and it's definitely one of my favorite franchises. I didn't even realize how much I love those first 2 movies till I covered them on the Kill Count. And Army of Darkness and the remake aren't bad. Thanks everyone, be good people.
Let's see. So, Dead Meat, Dawn.
Yeah, if I were him, I would just do zombie movies with the caveat that, like, hey, like, obviously, anybody who becomes a zombie is already dead. If a zombie is quote-unquote killed, it's just
he did the original,
incapacitating
but
an
not the
already dead
remake.
corpse. Yeah.
He did the original, but not the remake.
So I would just do it with the caveat that, like, hey, I'm not going to count zombie kills for this. I'm only going to count people killed.
Yeah.
Or turned.
I really like the Dawn of the Dead remake. I really wish he would do something with that. Also, the fact that he, the fact that he did the original like Dawn of the Dead or Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead. He did all those.
Hey, everybody.
Let's see. Yeah. The kill count recount. Then of course. Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Wreck, Wreck 2, Wreck 3, Wreck 4, Zombieland Double Tap, Quarantine, Quarantine 2, Shaun of the Dead, yay! Yeah, so there's a lot of zombie films that he's done, but there's only one you need to do, James. Please, por favor. Anyway, yeah, so
Damn. And he did Train to Busan as well. So.
Oh yeah, he did Train to Busan, in which that was pretty chaotic.
Which Train to Busan's the best zombie film I've seen pretty much since the Dawn of the Dead remake. Yeah. I know everybody loves 28 Days
28 days and 28 weeks.
Days is the first one, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I know everybody loves it, but like I'm not quite as big on it, and I still don't consider it a zombie film. It's a zombie. It's a zombie-inspired horror film, is what I would call it.
Well, yeah, they're infected. They're not zombies. But 28. I think 28 Weeks Later doesn't get enough love, dude. This is actually a really good sequel. I would say it's. I like it. Not as good as the first one, but I still like it a lot.
Yeah, I still haven't got a chance to watch it.
It's great. It's really, really good. It surprised me how much I liked it. But, yeah, anyway. That's going to do it for this. This was Dead Meat, Evil Dead, 2013 kill count. If y'all enjoyed and you want to see more from Dead Meat, feel free to click their name in the title of the video. If y'all want to see more from us, y'all know the whole deal. Click subscribe, hit that like button. It helps us out a whole lot. And until next time, I'm Nate. See you later, everybody. Peace.